So before I get started on this week's video, I thought I'd do a quick recap of what I've got done so far. I've got all the hardware taken out on both sides. That's over here. So this is the hardware that goes on the sides, and I have those refinished. Picked up some bolts for it, and then this is the hardware that actually clamps the top to the front of the windshield. So that's all been removed. I've given this a clean as best I can. I've reattached this piece here to the top. Same with this section up in here. And I have this area here prepped for some repairs. I'm using this metal foil tape as a dam in here. I have this flange here secured to the main body. And I got some resin in here. I've got some, this is all kind of glued back together. And this is the spot where, if you recall in a previous video, I hadn't put enough hardener in the resin, so it took quite a while for that to set up, but that's set up quite nicely now. So that brings you up to date on where I am so far. The goal for this video is to get the structural repairs completed, and that entails reattaching this section here. That goes into there basically. And there's this little piece here that goes up on this corner. And I'll probably just remove that piece there. So once that's all reattached, that completes the structural repair to the top. And I can tell you right now that the top is a lot more rigid than it was before I did all these repairs. So definitely working in the right direction. Here's another repair I'm going to have to make is down in here. But we'll get to that after I've got this section done here. I'm going to reattach that to this flange here first, aligning it as best I can down in here. And hard to show you one-handed, but I'll get this thing all lined up and set up in here, clamped into place. I've already sanded back some here so there's no interference, and I'll reinforce this whole thing with fiberglass cloth. So that's the goal for this video. What I've done with this portion here is I've cleaned up this edge on the broken piece and on the piece that's still attached to the top. And I've got those cleaned up as best as I can mate them up. And so that'll go in there like that. And then I'll clamp this to the flange on the main part of the top, much like I did along here. And then I can go in and repair this part here. So first step is to get this piece here reattached to the main part of the top. I've cleaned up this face here and roughed it out with sandpaper, and I've done the same along here. So it gives me as clean as possible there, and then I can just assemble this into position on the top. So let's get some resin mixed up and get to work. So I'm going to gather up a bunch of my clamps. Not that I'll need them all, but so I've made sure I've got plenty of hardener in this time, so I don't have the same problem I had with the previous bit of work. So give it a good mix up in here. My dollar store brushes. I'll get this well coated. I'm going to get down into this gap in here as well. I left that a bit loose. And I'm going to put the resin on both surfaces. And just along these edges here where they will meet up. And get in here, get some clamps. That's lined up there. Lined up there. And again, what I'm going to be doing later on is reinforcing the backside of this whole thing with fiberglass cloth and resin. And I wonder, I have to put a block of wood or something in there. Stack of popsicle sticks maybe. And I'll do this bunch here to just kind of line up a joint between the loose piece and the piece that's already on there. That's that. Let's get some more of these on here for good measure. So we'll let that set up and come back in a little bit and move on to the next steps. So after putting about 3,000 miles on the car since the last oil change, time for another one. And I'm also going to clean out the K&N reusable filters here. So in order to do that, I have some K&N Power Kleen and the K&N air filter oil. And I'll put links to both of those in the description below. So the process with this is take the filters off, spray down with the cleaner. Once the cleaner's done its job, give them a good rinse with water, let them dry out, and then you come back and recharge them with the filter oil. So the first step is to pull the filters off. Just loosen the little clamps that go around and that'll pop right off. The same on this one. There we go. And these are the Q1 Classic Engineering Velocity Stacks. And I'll put a link to his website in the description below as well. So now that those are off, I'll grab my cleaner and give it a good soak on the inside and around the outside. I'm going to take this away from the car for a bit. Set that one down. Right, so that's that part done. So I've got both of these filters goodly soaked with the cleaner. So you can see how black those are around there, and then around the back a little bit, you can see the bit of the red. That's what they should look like. So I'll go and get those rinsed off and come back in a couple of minutes. So as you saw, I put the cleaner on here, and I've taken them inside and given them a good rinse, and they're all dried out now. You can see these are a lot cleaner on both of these. So the next step is spray on the air filter oil and then reinstall them on the car. So there we have the refreshed air filters. So they've been cleaned with the K&N cleaner and then refreshed with the K&N oil and reinstalled back on the car. And even just looking at them, they look a lot better. So now that's done, I'm going to get the oil changed. So this is the oil I've been using. It's the Lucas Hot Rod and Classic 20W50 motor oil with its high zinc. And if you recall from a much earlier video, I have the spin-on oil filter kit from Moss, and that uses a Wix 51348 oil filter. Now I'll put links to both of these products in the description below if you'd like to get those. Now while I'm at it, I'm going to check the antifreeze. So I'll just pop that off. And you can see it's pretty much right up. So I'll top that up a little bit, and I'll call that one good to go. And I'll get the bonnet down, get the car jacked up a bit, and get the oil changed. So I had the oil changed. I have a new filter on, and in case you're wondering, I did pour that whole jug of oil in, but it was pre-measured to the number of liters that this engine requires. We'll of course double check it. Yeah, that way I don't have to kind of guess as I'm going, and that seems to work very well. So I'm going to start it up, make sure I've got oil pressure, and then check the oil, and then go for a spin. While this was setting up, you will have seen that I got the K&N filters cleaned up and an oil change done. So now it's time to take off all these clamps, see if our work was successful. All right, let's get these pulled off. Now, one thing that's nice with these clamps is this plastic on the tabs here doesn't stick to the resin, so it comes off quite nicely. There we go. I'll get that one loosened off here. And I'm going to call that a success. So that is a major structural work done. Obviously, I've got some repairs, some spots to fill in here. That'll be done with resin and body filler and what have you. Some sanding and cleaning up and reinforcing this area here. Now I'll show you what's coming up next. I've already started cutting some fiberglass cloth to go in behind. In here you can see to reinforce that area, and I'll do that all the way along that edge there and all the way along that edge there. The other reinforcing I'm going to do, I haven't quite decided which ones I'm going to go with, but the idea with these pieces here, I will either go with just the short one up in here, and I'll fiberglass over that and basically join it to the top, or I'll use the long skinny one and reinforce that whole rib, and that will reinforce where the front clips attach to the top, and those clips in turn go over the windshield frame and hold the top secure. But that's all I have time for this episode. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to share it with your friends. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget that little bell icon. Click on that, you'll get notified when the next video comes out. If you missed a previous video, I'll put a link to that one up in the top corner. You can go there and catch up. And if you'd like to see where this whole project started, I'll put a link to that video in the bottom corner. If you'd like to get a hold of me directly, you can do so at the email address I'll put at the bottom of the screen here, and that's also in the video description below. My name is Ian. This is the Econobox Garage. We'll see you next time.